Before start this video, please subscribe my channel and click on bell icon. Thanks.
Chances are that when you imagine what a male leader should sound like, you imagine them with a deep, booming, passionate voice. It is true there is some evidence to suggest that a deep voice is a crucial element to climbing the leadership ranks or being elected to office. However, it might surprise you to learn that some well-known male leaders sounded less like Mighty Mouse and more like Mickey Mouse. Here are 10 male leaders who had surprisingly high voices. Related, 10 actors who didn't get to use their own voice. 10 Charlemagne, also known as Charles the Great, was a Frankish king who is sometimes called the father of Europe. He was a fierce warrior and conquered much of Western Europe. He united the Germanic people under the banner of Christianity. In AD 800, he was crowned Holy Roman Emperor by Pope Leo III. Charlemagne was a large, imposing man. Einhard, a Frankish scholar and contemporary of Charlemagne, described Charlemagne as broad and strong in the form of his body and exceptionally tall, and his appearance was impressive whether he was sitting or standing, despite having a neck that was fat and too short, and a large belly. Given T. Einhard, for his part, described Charlemagne's voice as clear, but not so strong as his size led one to expect. Based on these descriptions, Charlemagne seemed to have the body of a wrestler but the voice of a shy preteen. 9 George Washington. Behold, George Washington's last tooth, object of intrigue, Atlas Obscura. While Charlemagne is known as the father of Europe, Washington is known as the father of America. Like Charlemagne, Washington was a big, beefy guy. A contemporary in the 1750s described him as measuring 6 feet 2 inches, 188 centimeters, in his stockings, and weighing 175 pounds. His frame is padded with well-developed muscles, indicating great strength. Washington was also a military genius, well-educated, personable, and dressed fashionably. These traits helped him become the first president of the United States. Washington's accomplishments are even more impressive when you consider that he sounded kind of like a wimp. This was due to several factors. When Washington was a child, he suffered from pleurisy, a viral infection that causes inflammation in the lining of the lungs, which caused him to develop a high-pitched, breathy voice. Further, Washington's mouth was a mess, with his teeth rotting away. This was not only unsightly but also caused horrible bad breath. Due to this, Washington avoided opening his mouth too wide when speaking. This was so he would not offend whoever he was talking to with a view of his bad teeth and a whiff of his smelly breath. 8 Abraham Lincoln. The real Abraham Lincoln, his story face brought to life with motion and color royalty. Now Abraham Lincoln was a towering figure in U.S. history, both figuratively and literally. A true physical specimen, Lincoln was 6'4", 193 centimeters, of sinewy muscle. His athleticism and toughness are the stuff of legend. He was able to throw grown men like rag dolls, was unbeatable at wrestling, and loved playing sports right up until he was elected president at the age of 51. Once in office, he was faced with a United States that was at war with itself over the issue of slavery and was dangerously close to dissolving as a nation. Lincoln deftly guided the country back from the brink and won the war. Lincoln was also well known for his speaking skills, writing some of the most notable speeches in American history. However, Lincoln's voice was shocking to those who heard him. His voice was described as a thin tenor, or rather falsetto, almost as high-pitched as a bosun's whistle. Others described his voice as shrill or sharp. This might have been an advantage, as his voice was also described as having much carrying power that could be heard a long distance. He introduced revolutionary ideas for replenishing depleted soil. He also strongly advocated for Southern farmers to grow other crops besides cotton, such as sweet potatoes and peanuts. He was an early proponent of environmentalism. He traveled the country promoting his causes and became known as the Peanut Man. He left a lasting impression, not just due to his amazing ideas, but also because of his shockingly high-pitched voice. Carver's voice was so high-pitched that a rumor began that he may have been castrated in his youth by his master. This is highly unlikely to be true. Instead, Carter's high-pitched voice likely came from bouts of diphtheria when he was younger. His high-pitched voice was so unique that it is often deemed noteworthy enough to be mentioned alongside his other accomplishments. 4. 6. Joseph Stalin. Stalin Informal Speech, 1935. The history of brutal Russian dictator Joseph Stalin has been so exaggerated and rewritten that it is sometimes hard to nail down what is fact and what is propaganda. We do know that he was born in the country of Georgia. He came into power following the death of Vladimir Lenin and brutally purged all who opposed him. His policies caused widespread famine, as tens of millions of people were either savagely murdered or else starved to death under his rule. Stalin also styled himself as a wartime leader when he resisted Hitler's invasion of Russia. Stalin was very image-conscious and worked hard to construct a cult of personality around some imaginary ideal of himself. He rarely appeared in public. He was very careful when being photographed to hide the fact that he was actually very short, standing only 5'4". Stalin also had a voice actor record most of his speeches to conceal the fact that he had a high-pitched voice. In fact, he sang as a tenor. Far from being a Russian bear, he was more like a Russian mouse. 5. Francisco Franco. Interview with General Franco. Sound. Francisco Franco was a fascist dictator of Spain. Franco achieved his power by overthrowing the Democratic Republic of Spain in the Spanish Civil War. Like Stalin, once he achieved power, he brutally cracked down on any who opposed his fascist government. Franco remained the autocratic ruler of his country until his death in 1975. In World War II, Franco kept Spain neutral in the beginning. He quickly changed his tune and began groveling to Hitler after the fall of Paris in 1940. Hitler reportedly found Franco to be very irritating, remarking he would as soon have 3 or 4 teeth pulled out than negotiate with him again. As to what Hitler found annoying about Franco, Hitler may have seen Franco as a weak man since Franco was extremely short, 5'3" or 160 centimeters, and rail thin and also had a high, squeaky voice. While Hitler may have expected to be meeting with a macho fellow fascist leader, Franco probably came off as more like an annoying Spanish-speaking Muppet. 6. For George S. Patton. General George S. Patton was a highly decorated, successful American general in World War II who commanded Allied forces in battles across northern Africa and Europe. Thanks for watching. Credits to listverse.com. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.